You have a very good heart, and you are interested in other human beings. You make people feel at ease, and you're very intelligent, and you have a very good heart.
Are you a fan of The X-Files, Gravity Falls, Mr. Robot, Lost, Severance? Do you enjoy games like Half-Life, Silent Hill, Fallout, Alan Wake, Control, or anything from the Remedyverse? Perhaps you find yourself drawn to films like Mandy and Midsommar. Or you enjoy the work of creators like Alex Hirsch, Ari Aster, and Sam Lake. If so, you are already in the orbit of the man, the myth, the legend, the mad lad that started chain smoking since age 8, the director blessed with Godtier hair genetics, David Keith Lynch. Lynch's work has left an indelible mark on the world, much like Rod Serling and Stanley Kubrick before him. His legacy will continue through the works of countless creators in film, TV, and video games. Lynch's influence is vast, inspiring a generation of artists who see him as a touchstone for creativity and intuition.
Be where pies go when they die.
He is a lovable, eccentric man. And I love how much he gets riled up talking about people who watch his films on the phone.
Never in a trillion years. It's such a sadness that you think you've seen a film on your fucking telephone. Get real.
In the next whatever minutes, allow me to introduce to you one of my favorite directors of all time. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm this close to reaching 1 million subscribers. Okay, I pondered how to approach this video as I sat here drinking my coffee black and my donut rainbow, as David Lynch intended. I feel like instead of just narrating what you can find out about him on Wikipedia, I'm going to point out stuff that's super interesting about this legend.
Wood is such a blessing for humanity.
The man reached the highest rank of Eagle Scout and was at the inauguration of JFK, only to say later, I became an Eagle Scout so I could quit and put it behind me. He did not like school much, but loved painting and dabbled in art, music, and even furniture design. His first successful film, Eraserhead, was an underground classic that even the GOAT, Stanley Kubrick, said it was one of his all-time favorite films. Oh, and his grandparents are Finnish. You know who else is Finnish? But really, what is it about David Lynch that captivates so many? Some might just say his stuff is too surreal or weird. Others might say perhaps it's his ability to touch something deep within us, something we struggle to articulate but profoundly feel. His longtime friend, Cale McLaughlin, said after his passing,
Action, Kale. Kale. And he calls me Kale. That's another story. Okay. Because during Dune, Dino De Laurentiis, who produced that, couldn't say Kyle, and he called me Gale. And Gale. And he spoke like that. Sure. David picked that up. He becomes fond of it. So now he calls me Kale. He says, Kale.
Kale, you come to right about here.
David was in tune with the universe and his own imagination on a level that seemed to be the best version of human.
When you love something, there's no problem. There's no problem. You're in love. And you take it, whatever comes along. You're in love.
This is a man that knows what he loves and actively pursued those love, good or bad. Smoking is one of them. He started smoking since he's 8. He knows it is a deadly relationship. He talked about it in many of his interviews and encouraged others not to be like him, or rather discouraged others to not smoke. But sometimes that is life. You can make the argument that the same love he had for cigarettes is the same love he had for his artistic creations and for the people who work with him. His love made him a man of value and principles. I know that had created many challenges and frictions for him in Hollywood and probably thwarted his popularity and success, but we know he has less regrets than those who sold out. Let's talk about another one of his loves. It is no secret that David Lynch loves beautiful women.
You like some pie?
Massive quantities and a glass of water, sweetheart. My socks are on fire.
Not in a weird way. He is a champion and defender of them.
Naomi came in and did not look exactly like the photograph that I had fallen in love with.
It was disappointing.
It was not disappointing.
A little bit.
It was devastating.
You can even argue that he is the forerunner when it comes to warning about the dangers of Hollywood's predatory methods on young actors and actresses long before the Me Too movement. Through one of his most commercially successful films, Mulholland Drive, he showcases the dangers of shortcutting or losing your principles to fame and the predatory system in Hollywood. Naomi Watts credited Lynch for her breakout role, reflecting on how his believing her reignited her own self-confidence.
I'd spent 10 years of auditioning in Los Angeles where lucky if you get to meet the director, you might not get a bit of eye contact or a handshake or anything. Nonetheless, David looked at me and he actually asked me questions. So there was a conversation. He sat me still and said, I'm interested in you. And therefore I was able to
I sure love you. I sure love you, Naomi. Naomi knocked this thing out of the park. She is such a fantastic actress.
Lynch nurtured and fostered many young talents in Hollywood. His long-term collaborator, let's be honest, at this point almost synonymous when you mention the name David Lynch, is Kyle MacLachlan.
A damn fine cup of coffee.
He wrote, 42 years ago, for reasons beyond my comprehension, David Lynch plucked me out of obscurity to star in his first and last big-budget movie. He clearly saw something in me that even I didn't recognize. I owe my entire career and life, really, to his vision. And not just him, Laura Dern also had things to say regarding the legend.
I'm in love with both these people and want to spend the rest of my lives with them, which is how I responded.
And vice versa.
Laura Dern is one of the all-time great actresses. She could play anything.
David Lynch's career is not without its challenges. I know there are many people out there still beating the dead horse on how much of a flop his Dune was, especially when compared to the new Dune movies. But let's get some cultural and historical context to that film. David Lynch has said many times that his 1984 Dune adaptation as a gigantic sadness in his life, because of the lack of creative freedom he received from the studio during the film, including being given a tepid budget to work with. That saga of his life was a pivotal moment, a harsh lesson in the importance of creative control. Why would anyone work for 3 years on something that wasn't yours? Lynch reflected. He had lost total creative control on the project, so much so that he asked the studio to remove his name from it entirely, and sadly, his wish wasn't granted. This experience, however, didn't break him. Instead, it reinforced his resolve to stay true to his own visions in his future projects. His works invites us to embrace the mystery, to revel in the journey rather than the destination. This philosophy is evident in Lynch's approach to storytelling. His works and TV shows are not about delivering clear answers. In fact, he's notorious for dodging questions when asked about his intentions.
I know you hate saying what things mean in your films, but am I right in thinking that that's at least in the right area? No.
His creations are about evoking emotions and prompting introspection. Lynch himself shunned explaining his works, preferring audiences to feel and intuit their way through his narratives. Many of my viewers are probably too young. Heck, even I was a little young at the time, but I cannot understate how popular and how big Twin Peaks was for television at the time. Serials that had storylines that continued from one episode to another at the time was already rare. But unlike other serials, Twin Peaks focused on a single storyline that continued for the entire season. Everyone and their dogs were talking about who killed Laura Palmer. Twin Peaks is credited with demonstrating that a successful primetime TV series could incorporate elements previously restricted to longer movies, in addition to longer storyline, but also lighting, camera work, and the role of the directors in production. As a result, primetime television became more cinematic. Without Twin Peaks paving the way, we probably would not have Sopranos.
All this from a slice of gabagool. The gabagool.
Showing us anti-hero shows work, which then allowed shows like Breaking Bad to flourish. David Lynch knew what he was doing. Many of his film TV explored the consequences and the after effects of tragedy, and liked to keep mysteries, because he believed life is about the journey to find the answers, not when the answer is revealed. Alas, the studio system interfered with David Lynch yet again. ABC forced him and co-creator Mark Frost to reveal who the killer of Laura Palmer is. And essentially, as David Lynch will also believe, that's what killed the show. And that's why many season 1 and season 2 episodes of Twin Peaks felt off. But watching Twin Peaks today with the context that you know can still be a great viewing experience. And you can see how many other media after it were inspired by Twin Peaks. As Martin Scorsese puts it, he put images on the screen unlike anything that I or anyone else had ever seen. He made everything strange, uncanny, revelatory, and new. His works also echoes in what he believes as transcendental meditation. But to me, upon cursory research, sounds like the ancient wisdom of the Chinese Taoist ways. You can read Dao De Jing from that too, which teaches the balance and intuition are essential for navigating the complexities of life. And a lot of times, Lynch's film embodies this philosophy, urging us to embrace both the sweet and the bitter, the surreal and the real. Don't linger in the past. Don't worry too much about the future. Live in the moment. Keep our eyes on the donut and not the hole. As we appreciate and celebrate David Lynch's life and legacy, let's remember Lynch not just for his creative works, but for the way he made us see the world. Strange, beautiful, and filled with infinite possibilities. So, as we navigate through our own lives, always find a balance between the bitter coffee and the sweet cherry pie. Embrace the mysteries and the ambiguity and let your intuition guide you through the abstraction. Cherish those around you and don't worry about how things will.
I had another Monica Bellucci dream.